September 12th, 2021. And we are blessed to have Dr. Emily Letran join us this morning, all the way from the West Coast. This is going to be an amazing call simply because we have something special for you. So if you are an individual that is planning on going into dental school, currently in dental school, or have made it past those pearly gates and you want to go to that next level, this call is just for you. So get excited, get your pen and paper, and get ready to go to that next level. So once again, I'm Dr. Jared Williams, and I have with us today Dr. Emily Letran. Welcome and good morning.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
I am fantastic. I'm fantastic. We're going to jump into this really quickly, Dr. Letran, because I know it's a little early, but I want to jump on this quickly. So let's just tell us a little bit about yourself, Dr. Letran, and we'll take it as it goes.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me on the call. I think it's wonderful that we have this platform to share our stories, our knowledge, what we know about, how to be prepared to enter into a very noble profession, how to, stay resilient in dental school, because anybody who go through that process know it's a process. And then, of course, once we come out, how to be successful, because just like anything else that you try to do in life, if you have some mentorship, if you have some guidance, you have somebody who leads you by the hand, or maybe they prod you a little bit along the way, you know that you're going to be more successful than somebody who tried to do it all, do it yourself kind of thing. And I'm super blessed to be on here. I always love the, call it the younger, right? The younger generation who are so much in tune with the progress of the profession, who want to learn from other people, and who take initiative, because I think this is a great initiative. As a, I would say if I were younger, I would obviously be part of this group as a member, right? Because I'm part of that diversity that we all bring to the profession. And my background, just real quick, is I came from Vietnam as a refugee back when I was 13 years old. This is back in the early 80s. If you know about the boat people in Vietnam, I was part of that group. So we escaped from the country. Vietnam is still a communist country. We were on the ocean for 7 days. And we finally got to Malaysia, stay in the refugee camp for several years, and then came to the United States. And a lot of us, when we came, we really didn't have anything. We didn't really know the language. We have to learn to assimilate into life here. And I remember going to school those days, pretty much didn't really understand what the teacher was saying, just sitting there, and it's like noise in your ears, right? And then when I get home, it would be a dictionary, looking up words. When I'm reading something, I still remember going to take a test, and thank God for multiple choice, right? This is in middle school, where I was just trying to match words to words without really understanding it, because that was the fastest way to learn, right? Instead of understanding the whole sentence, I know if it's going to be matching or multiple choice, I'm going to recognize those words. So I would connect them and answer the questions. I'm not saying that that's a good way to go to go through life guessing, but sometimes we have to improvise, and sometimes we just have to figure out the best way to deal with what we have. And I'm blessed because I think I took that mentality all the way until now. A lot of time I may not get panicked with a new situation. It's more, okay, let's look for clues. Let's think, what did we do last time to get through this? And I think, especially for a lot of us, when we go into professional school, most of us have never done it before, right? Some of us are blessed that maybe we have a parent that are in the profession, whether it's a dentist, hygienist, lab technician maybe, and they've had some insights But the majority of us, we go in there, we had this little discussion, as to why I chose dentistry, but we go into the profession, we really know nothing
Mhm.
about the profession, and we're learning everything for the first time. And that's the challenge that I understand a lot of the listeners are going through, right? It's the first time you're looking into going to professional school. Maybe you're the first person in your family going to professional school. It's the first time you're in dental school and you get introduced to all of these new concepts, having to work with your hands and all that. And then as you come out, it's the first time having a business. And I look at you guys, all the young faces, and you're out here trying to help the profession, and obviously Dr. Haishaw having the vision to start the group, to lead the group, and to make the group into what it is today. And I'm sure it's going to be growing much stronger because the mission is great, and the support is needed for everyone.
I really appreciate you started off really quickly on the call. I think a lot of people heard what you said, but you dropped a lot of gems when you're talking about coming to this country, already being in a position of in a challenge or in a trial in a sense,
Yes.
and you started talking about how you're already able to decipher how to win immediately. I hope nobody dropped. I hope everybody heard that, because as I was listening to you, I see that you have exceptional leverage in the top right-hand corner of your screen and action to win, and you're already dropping little gems already. And I want people to really be paying attention, because she's literally giving you the keys to be successful in dentistry, not just in dentistry, just in life. So give us some insight. What was that like? You said that you're part of the community of the boat people. Give us an insight where that was coming from. Because if you are listening to this call, I can't stand the term, but you find yourself in a disadvantaged state. I'm not a fan of that, because I think that's more of a mindset.
Right.
But you're listening to an individual who was considered, had a specific name, and now she's here speaking to you as a well-accomplished clinician, doctor, so on, as coach, and so on and so forth. So I want you to just give us some insight of what was that like, leaving your country, immigrating here to the United States, being give us some background about that. Please unpack that.
Well, the background there. So one of the things that always touch on me is, I'm watching TV nowadays, right? And you
Mm,
see those pictures of refugees. You see that on TV, and I always tell myself, this is how people were looking at us when we came, right? But we didn't come in droves, because when you escape the country, it is a communist regime.
mhm,
So when my aunt decided to escape, she took me, my older brother, a couple of siblings. Um, we basically escape at night and the key is to try to get into international waters, because once you get into international waters, you technically left the country,
yeah.
right? And we actually got caught by the Coast Guard, by the Vietnamese Coast Guard. They came on board. They rob us. They basically say, "Hey, give us all of your money, because
Mm,
Vietnamese money is not going to mean anything when you go to another country." And then when we go to the refugee camp, it, it was a refugee camp where you live in makeshift shelter. Every 3 days they give you a little bag of supplies,
mm,
some food, a little bit of rice, one canned food, two instant noodles, a little
mm,
bag of dry fish, and a bag of mung bean. And I mean, I can literally see it, because you see that for 3 months, every 2 weeks, you get one of those, and it's up to you whether you're gonna that's enough for you or that's not enough for you. You figure it out.
yeah.
And so what I learned there is, and of course in hindsight everything is very clear. But when when I was there, it was a good thing that I was younger, 13. So I understood that it was hard, but I didn't really have that worriness, right? Because I'm sure my aunt was worried to death. Like, what is she going to do next step? But
Mm,
for us, there were two main things to do in the camp, which is to go to the beach, because we were on an island, and to go to class. So they have classes where they teach you English, and it's very, very basic English, nothing that you could actually use the moment you hit the States, because first person who talked to me, it will be like, okay, I don't know what you were saying. I remember people telling me, if you want to learn English fast, to watch the news, because the news anchors say it very clearly, right? Which is, I think, to a certain extent is true, but I would spend 2-3 hours trying to watch the news, right? In the evening, right? Trying to study, and then come 5 o'clock, let's sit there and watch the news. And back then there was no caption or anything, right? So whatever they say, you need to try to pick it up. And that's one way that I learned. The other way was a lot of copying, right? You just watch what your friends do, and try to do what they doing, and hopefully they were doing something right. I I remember at PE period playing softball. We don't have softball in Vietnam. I had no clue what I was supposed to do. And when they put me as a pitcher, and I still remember, I had no idea. I thought I was supposed to throw the ball so the other person could hit it. I mean, honestly, because and I was just trying to throw, give it the best shot so the other person could hit it. Because my main time was spent trying to learn, to be good in school, to get good grades. Uh, I didn't quite spend as much time trying to learn the culture, right? Like trying to understand football, baseball. I used to think that the assembly was a waste of time because I didn't, in high school, because I did not understand what they were talking about most of the time. And so I'm thinking, okay, there's 30 minutes or 45 minutes just sitting on the bleacher listening to somebody saying something, and I could have used that time to study, right? And so I think when when you come from another country, the challenge is not just the language. The bigger challenge, I think, is the culture. Because if you don't understand the culture, it's going to be much harder for you to get assimilated. It's like when you go into dentistry, which is a noble profession, but we are quite unique, right? We are we have so much attention to detail. So then, as a person, we tend to be very picky. Just in
Sure.
general, we tend to be critical of other people, right? Just because by nature, by the training, that's who we are. And sometimes we have to take up that hat when you go, outside of your dental office and say, hey, you got to be a regular person. You got to be normal. You know, don't be so detail oriented. Don't be so picky. And then also we are self-critical because, again, because of the training in school. So sometimes we tend to be the ones beating ourselves down if we didn't do as good as we can. That's why my passion is to help other people develop themselves in personal growth, right? Like to grow yourself. And because to grow your profession, meaning your clinical skill or your business skill, you can always take a class, right? You can take on a program, you sign up for this, you sign up for that, you get better. But you have to spend that time investing in yourself and learning how to grow yourself. And something like this group is just great because number one, when you recognize that there's a diversity, that you already grow a little bit, right? And then when you recognize that the diversity just means that you're different, but you're the same. And for you to work together, for you to make changes or push for changes, or maybe initiate changes, I think it will benefit the whole profession.
Yes.
And so I really, again, like I don't want to keep repeating, but I appreciate what we're doing here, is to share those stories and those knowledge. And I think coming from another country, I just have that different perspective, right? That we need to look at everything. We need to learn from everyone because everyone brings a little bit of something.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you saying that. Some people are probably tuning in about who is this lady? Why is she talking to us about she coming from a different country? Okay. Let us know. I was listening to you when we did the interview, and you were talking about how you finished school. You were top of the class. Just so people, because I don't think people understood, because you just came in. You're talking about you're a refugee from Vietnam. You're sitting on the boats. You had, the Vietnamese Coast Guard taking all your money. You're eating mung beans, which are very, very, very healthy, by the way. If nobody knows about mung beans, they're very healthy. They're very, very healthy. Then you started talking about all the different challenges you were able to overcome, and now you're talking about dentistry. Okay, now let individuals know how successful you are, how you were able to your schooling, how you finished in 3 years, how you through residency, all these different things. So people are probably coming in like, okay, I hear this, but why is this important? Let us know who you are, Dr. Letran, in the sense of your academic accomplishments, please, so that people could be drawn in a little closer.
Okay. Well, first of all, I love to be introduced as the best mom in the world, right? Because I already claimed that one actually. So
Okay.
I think whatever is most important to you, you need to excel in that. So
Mm,
for me, family is important.
mm,
I love my children, and I always want to be the best mom to them. Then, if you want to talk about accomplishment, I think whatever you're doing, it is best to give it 100%. Now, your 100% may be, 70% of somebody else, right? Because we're all different. But when you give it 100% all the time, or the mindset is, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to do the best that I could. Um, it then you're just going to be that individual who always will excel to the best of your ability, and then you can set example, um, regardless of what the drive is. So for me, when we share in the pre-interview, I just told you a little bit that I came to this country and I didn't know a lot of English and all that. I actually finished my high school as a valedictorian, and
Now,
you
this is
know
the
it,
United States, or is this in
yeah,
Vietnam? Let's make sure we're clear on this. Where are we?
this
Where are we? Where are we?
this is a Riverside Poly High School in California,
Okay, just
and
making sure. Go ahead,
yes,
continue.
yeah,
Mhm.
and I really think it was my drive was I'm here, I got to do my best, and I understood that in order to, let's say, go to the best school, be successful, you got to have the best grades, right? So in school, I was very, very much focused in grades, in trying to do my best. So I finished that. When I got to undergrad, this is when you understand about money, because I was doing summer jobs and weekend jobs, and so I said, you know what, I got to finish this early so I can go out and make money and help my family. And I was told by my aunt that it's best to get into healthcare, right? And the understanding was that's a safe place to get a job. It wasn't because you're gonna make more money, but healthcare will always be in demand. So so I told myself I need to hurry up. I need to finish school early again so I can go out and help my family. Now, if you were coming from, you know, a country like Vietnam, India, especially the Asian country, there's a lot of expectation that when you come here that you'll be able to help the family back home, right? It's not just, I know it's here too, but
No,
from
you're right
right,
on.
yeah,
No, you're right. You're right.
and it's part of the family culture, right? Hey, if you're the first one to go to college, you should make the family proud, and you should help the family. So so I finished my undergrad in 3 years. I finished Phi Beta Kappa, and I still remember the school calling me and say, "Congratulations, you finished. You got Phi Beta Kappa." And I said, "Thank you. What is it?" Because I had no idea what it was, and actually, it just sounded expensive. It sounds like it's something that you have to pay to get. And they explained it to me, so I was very happy to learn that. And then I got accepted to UCLA Dental School. And this is the funny part. I remember I applied to 5 schools in California and then 2 schools in New York, because the 2 schools in New York are Stony Brook and Buffalo. They're both public school. And then in Southern California, I applied to all the school except for UOP. And this is back in the days where they didn't give you a lot of scholarship or loans. This is back, so if you go to a more expensive school, you should have your family or somebody helping, right? Because several years back now, you have government loan program where you didn't have enough money, at least they give you a loan. But back then, that wasn't the case. We're talking about the late 80s. So I remember getting a letter from Loma Linda University Dental School and say, you got into dental school, congratulations. Your deposit is $1,000, non-refundable. So I'm sitting there going, I don't have $1,000. I think I should sit here and wait. Then I got the next letter from USC. Congratulations, your deposit is $500. So now I'm thinking, okay, I need to ask my aunt for $500, right? And at this time, I got the letter from Stony Brook that I have an interview. So I bought ticket to go to Stony Brook for an interview. And I think 1 or 2 days before I left for New York, I got that letter from UCLA. It said, congratulations, you got in, your deposit is $50. So that was it was a very easy decision. And that's the school that I went to. And I think a lot of times, there's that fate, right? That it's already planned for you. For me, it was very clear. Like I'm having a difficult time deciding which school to go to, because obviously all these schools are good.
Yeah.
But the one that is most accommodating to me was UCLA, the $50, deposit. And so there's the road, it's already it's right there for you, and you just have to take that leap of faith, right? You just have to trust that things are going to work out. And I think this is very true for some of us. Sometimes things just seem to get so tough, right? Like, how am I going to get through this? And you just need to pause. I certainly recommend you to pray, to have some kind of faith as you go through life, because there are going to be things in life that you don't understand. Why did this happen to me, right? There's a saying, I think, that God will never put in front of you something that you cannot handle, right? It's going to be super difficult, but you have to trust him that you can go through it. Sometimes you don't understand what is the lesson to be learned here, because this just keep getting harder and harder and harder. But actually what it is I think it's building you up. It's helping you learn to grow. And so whether you're still in undergrad and you're looking for, excuse me, to get into professional school, or maybe you're in professional school and you're going through challenges, or you just graduated, or you're well on your way, and there's always going to be hurdles and challenges. And one of my strategies, and this is what I coach my clients to, is to pause and to look back. What did you do in a similar situation, right? The last time you have this big, overwhelming hurdle, what did you do? And if you say something like, oh, when I was in dental school, I would reach out to my mentor, or maybe it's my clinic advisor, whoever it is, or maybe I was reaching out to my big sister, my big brother. Well, now you're in business and you have this hurdle, another kind of hurdle. What do you do? Well, it sounds like you reach out for support in the past, and that's how you overcame it. And what people tend to do is they always think this is brand new. I've never done this before, right? This never happened to me before. But when you actually stop and think about it, you've overcome something similar. And so use those same strategies to tackle this new thing, because it worked for you before in the past. And what you do is you want to be resourceful, and you go back to what you've done before.
No, that's really good. I mean, it's good to see that each time you speak, you're dropping gems upon gems to really be able to take it to the next level. Because there are individuals that are on here I know that are making that decision now about what school's best for me. How do I know which one's going to be right for me? How am I going to afford this? And it seems like the secret to success is literally just acknowledging the fact that success leaves little clues. And so as you're speaking about, um, being patient in the process, and then seeing that UCLA's found was beneficial for you just because it was based upon the financial aspect, just basically presenting yourself in such a way that things end up working out. And you're right, there isn't anything that we're new to. There's nothing new under the sun. So I really appreciate that perspective.
Well, first of all, I'm always right. And then secondly, I don't advise, picking a school based on the deposit, obviously. but, but as I said before, you have to do that due diligence first, right? So whichever school that you decide that you apply to, you have already gone through that screening process that you want to go to that school for whatever the reason was. And then obviously the deposit thing for me, which is, oh, this is the easier one to deal with. Like my daughter, and I'm very proud to say she's starting her third year at UCLA Dental School. So she's gonna graduate exactly 30 years after mom. When she got accepted to UCLA and Western University, so Western University is a newer school. And I mean, they got brand new facility, like state of the art. And UCLA is UCLA. We're still the public school. But when she had that choice to make, she actually chose UCLA. Now, obviously, I wanted her to choose UCLA, but I didn't want to push. And when I asked her why, because she went to see both schools, and I mean, if you're comparing, the facility and all that, because as a new student, you don't really know the difference or anything between the teaching curriculum. And I'm not saying to compare that, but I think her main comparison would be, how the school looked and the facility. And she said she chose UCLA because UCLA has programs for community, right? And so I was very proud of that fact, that that's why she chose the school. And that goes back to me saying earlier where you know what's important to you, right? So if you have that sense of community service, you have that sense of giving back, I'm sure this group is perfect for you, the diversity in dentistry, because a lot of us come from that background. We probably have experienced some kind of help, right? Some kind of assistance, because we might have come from a disadvantaged background. So when we get to school, we appreciate all the support. And then when we come out, we tend to be very giving, right? You go back and you give to the community where you came from, that kind of mindset. Because a lot of time, it's obviously it's a two-way street, right? You get you receive and then you give, and sometimes it's about paying it forward. So when you think about community service and giving to the community, obviously it comes from some family values and also some social core value from where we come from. So I think when I say, to make the decision based on what's most important to you, I would recommend taking the time always to visit that before you make a decision, any big decision in life. Because if you do that, if you take the time, you get very clear in what's most important to you, and you make sure that it's in alignment with your values. Once you make those decisions, you don't tend to regret, right? You've heard people all the time, I regret I didn't do this, I didn't do that. But if you know that it's in alignment with your values, a lot of times you won't have that regret. You know that you were pointed in that direction and what to make the best out of it.
So no, you're 100% spot on there. Let me ask you this. This is a common question that individuals ask all the time. And how did you end up choosing dentistry? I thought it was pretty interesting between the two when we spoke about this before, but how did you end up choosing dentistry opposed to all the other fields that you have access to? I mean, you were valedictorian through school, finished college in 3 years. and as a biology major. And how did you end up making the determination? I know you said your aunt said, healthcare is a good, big field, but there's different aspects of healthcare that you could jump into. Give us that story about how you end up choosing dentistry over. Yeah.
Well, when we talked before, I said this is an inspiring story of how I chose dentistry, and yeah, so I was advised by my aunt to go into healthcare, and my aunt used to be a pharmacist back in Vietnam, and in Vietnam, when you have a pharmacy, it basically is a small drugstore, and sometimes people would come in and they would describe a symptom to you. Like, for example, they'll say, I have a headache for the past 2 days. And the pharmacist would sell you 3 Tylenols or something like that. So as a kid, we used to make these little envelopes, just our paper, right? And that's the little envelope that she would put the medicine in. So when I was considering um, going into healthcare, pharmacy was an obvious choice because that's the one that I got exposed to. Uh, I didn't like medicine. Back in the days, you're the one that wear that beeper, right? And I would hate it when we had a party or something with friends and the beeper would go off and everybody would be looking, right? Like all the medical students or whatever, they'll be looking. And I always thought, why are they looking? Because they should know if it's their beeper, right? Like if it vibrates, you probably would know that it's yours. But everybody would be doing that. And I always thought, I don't want to be so attached where people can always track me down.
Mm.
So feeling that you're stuck to your job. And I was leaning more to a pharmacy. And at a party, at a school party, one of my friends came up to me and he said, I heard you want to go to pharmacy school. And I said, yes. This is at the end of my second year. And he said, don't go to pharmacy school because pharmacy here is not the same as back home. Because both of his parents were pharmacists back home too. And then they came back here, they came to the US and they went back and become pharmacists here. And it's because, as you know, the pharmacy here is more, obviously there's a big drugstore and the patient can come in and buy whatever they want over the counter, right? The only time they actually have the interaction with a pharmacist is maybe it's a prescription, or maybe they come up to you and they ask a question. But most of the time, if you go to an aisle that say, cold remedies, and you pretty much can pick anything and it's going to help with your cold. So my friend said, look into, and I told him why I thought about pharmacy because I didn't like medicine. And he told me, no, you should go into dentistry. And so I went and I kind of look at that and I go, okay, well, it doesn't hurt. Um, I went and I talked to a doctor, a pharmacist at the store, and I asked him, what do you do, during your job? And he said he counted pills. Now I think he might have said that just jokingly, but I took it literally. Like I do not want to count pills. And so when I signed up for dental school, it's funny because my only experience with dental school were a couple of fillings in my mouth. My aunt's husband, who passed away very young, was
Sorry.
was a dentist. So that's the only family connection, because both of my parents were teachers. So I had a couple of fillings in my mouth. When I got into dental school, I realized that a lot of the people who are in dental school, they either have a family member who's a dentist, right? So they kind of grew up with dentistry. Another common reason why people are in dental school is they've gone through some dental experience, like, you know, dentistry helped their smile, or some people think dentistry can make you rich, right? Because they went through a dental experience and they had to pay a lot of money, that kind of thing. So I went in with really no expectation. It was just, oh, this is the best choice of all of those other choices. And I struggled through dental school, I think just like most of us, right? Because we're learning everything for the first time. But what I really appreciate, I'm going on almost 3 decades as a dentist, is the relationship that you can build with your patient, with the community, and obviously with your team. And the other thing is that independence, right? The fact that you could be your boss and you can choose to stay that way versus working for a corporation. Um, and you can be happy all on your own, right? Because you don't have to work for someone. You can choose what kind of relationship you want to have with your patient. I mean, I've worked, obviously, after so many years, you hear stories, Dr. So and so, he does great dentistry, but he has no manner, right? Kind of thing, like bedside manner, right? Or Dr. So and so is very bossy, et cetera, et cetera. I one of the patient called the other day after hours, and I answered the call, and she was talking. My mom wanted to come back to the office and see you, and she said, "Oh, she knows you because she used to go to the senior community center." And I immediately know why she knew me because I have volunteered a couple of times doing oral cancer and dental screening for that particular senior center. So I know that those are the relationships that you can build on your own, where you kind of make your mark in the community and you can give back, and people know about you for that, right? So we're very proud people know about us as that dental office that help the community. We're kind of funny, we sarcastic, well, I'm sarcastic as a person. And so people come in and they expect that kind of family um, orientation where we talk about family, we value family in the real sense, right? We're not just talking about it. We do things um, like movie night. But before COVID and several couple of years back, I would invite my patients to movie night once a year. So we rent our movie theater. We choose a blockbuster. Usually it's during the summer, and we send out an email, and people can sign up, come in, have see the movie, have popcorn and a drink and watch this movie. And we make it into a private screening. So before the movie, we talk about our office a little bit. We let them know what's up in the office. Sometimes a couple of patients would give a testimonial. Of course, this is all strategically planned, right?
Very smart. I love it.
And then, you know, they get to watch the movie. So I still have patients who say, yeah, my boyfriend said he wants to come in and see you because he said, isn't that the dentist who take us to the movie? Well, I think that's a great reputation to have, right? If that's the dentist that take us to the movie, rather than that's the dentist who does what XYZ. I do care about the credentials. I do care about the honors and all that. But I think I care more about those other things that make you a person. Because at the end of the day, you can have a lot of letters behind your name, but I'm not sure how much that means to a patient.
Yeah.
And at least that's how I always look at it. So be grateful that if you could choose this profession for those who are contemplating, I would highly recommend that for those two reasons, right? To be able to be your own boss and to enjoy the relationship, because I tell you that there's no greater joy than having a whole, like 3 generations of patient in the office. I remember there was this one time when they all came in at the same time, and I didn't know that so-and-so is the son of so-and-so because, I mean, it's the daughter of the other person because she got married, she changed her name, right? So I got, grandma and daughter and grandkid at the same time in the office. We took a picture, and then, it's those things that make it worthwhile. It's not, I mean, the financial aspect will come. You do a good job. Uh, you're in the community for a long time. I'm sure you're going to be successful. But I don't think that you can say the same thing about other professions that where you can build that long-term relationship. And I think that's one of the greatest joy to be a dentist.
It's interesting when we're talking, you stated, I want you to touch on this, how you're able to specialize while you're in dental school before your undergrad, before you graduated. Can you give us some insight on that? Because I thought when you shared this story, I was like, so please share that insight, because you're talking about how you're impacting the community from a generational perspective. But I want to just back up just a little bit and talk about how you're able to have a master's in addition to graduating all at the same time within a 4 years period. So give us some insight. share your secrets. Share your secrets. If I would have known that, I would have taken advantage of that myself. So please share. Please share.
Yeah. Well, if you remember, I have kind of a recurrent theme, which is to be very clear in what you want, right? So for me, it was always about, I want to finish this fast to come out and make money so I can help my family. And so when I got into dental school, and I just mentioned, I didn't really know much about dentistry, except for the few fillings in my mouth. So I got in there, and it was funny. Let me backtrack a little bit. When I went to undergrad, I didn't know what I wanted to be. So my brother was he wants to be an engineer. So he came in and he was pre-engineer. I came in as an undeclared, right? And I took the exact same classes that he did. Signed up for all the same classes. Like 2 days into school, I found out that pretty much all of my friends were pre-med. So I'm thinking, wait a minute, maybe I should be pre-med instead of pre-engineer. And I was trying to sign up for the program, which back then was called Biomedical Sciences. It was a program together between UC Riverside and UCLA where you finish your doctor in 7 years. But when I called the counselor office, they go, okay, what classes are you taking right now? And I told them the classes, and they said, that's not the sequence, right? So you can't be in this program because if you follow the sequence, you would take physics the second year, and I'm in my first year and I'm taking physics, right? So now I'm in dental school, and we're starting dental school, and I'm talking to friends, and everybody is, oh, I want to be an orthodontist. I want to be an oral surgeon. I want to be a periodontist. They all want to specialize. And we barely started dental school. So I thought to myself, maybe I should specialize, because obviously, the understanding is when you specialize, you can make more money, that kind of a thing. So I'm thinking maybe I want to specialize, but how do I distinguish myself? And as you know, when you go to a good public school, you're in with a tough crowd, right? People are super competitive. I remember getting a 92 on the National Board Part 1, and I was pretty proud of it, right? So I was telling my friend, she go, what did you get? And I said, I got 92. She go, oh, that's pretty good. That's class average. And I'm thinking, wow. Wait a minute. So I figure one way for me to distinguish myself, if I want to go into any kind of specialty, it would be for research. And I'm not a research person. I actually totally avoided research in undergrad. So I signed up to do research under an orthodontist, and I'm thinking, well, if I'm going to do research, might as well make some use out of it. So I look into it and I go, oh, you can get a master, right? Because the research come with the degree. So this is during second year, and I said, okay, well then how do I get a master? So I look into that, and there are all these classes that you have to take, and there's some overlapping between those classes and the classes that I'm already having to take in dental school. So I decided to apply for a master. And so that's what I did. I finished dental school, the DDS degree, together with a master in the same 4 years. Most people do the master after, so it will take them another 2 years. So if you specialize for 2 years in perio or pedo, that's the master you get. So I get the master at the same time. The master is in oral biology. I did do a thesis and defended the thesis and all that. So I remember, when we have those long week of finals, finishing 13 finals and everybody go home, I went to the library
Mm.
because I still have another 2 finals for my master program. And I think the fact that I always want to do the best that I could, the fact that I always want to put myself in the best position, right? Because that's how you really get ahead in life, if you want to call it like that, is you need to position yourself as I'm the best choice or I'm the better choice, right? Whether it's in a relationship or in the community or in your job, in a job market, and sacrifice for that. And by sacrifice here, I mean giving it the time,
Mm.
giving it the effort, right? Because obviously, if I'm doing research, I'm losing some of my personal time. Now, this is going to school from 8 to 5, and then you go to study. You do a little bit of lab work, and then you still try to study, and then somewhere in there you fit in your research. So it was. I'm not gonna say that it was not difficult, but it gets easier when you know that it's what you want, right? Versus something that somebody else tell you to do. So when you set your eye at a certain prize or goal, and you know that it's going to take, you can get to that with commitment and with some sacrifice of time or effort, emotional toll, that kind of a thing. If you're clear with that, a lot of time you can go through that without, having that stress or panic attack. Like sometimes people talk about those things, and I'm not saying that they're not valid, but I would say for me, I've never had one of those, even
Mm.
though I think I work really hard and I've done a lot of things. I've done more than the average person per se, but it's because I'm always driven because of those goals that I already set for myself, right? That's why it's so important that you know yourself,
Mm.
because when you're doing things to be like your friend, to be like your cousin or whatever your family put you up to, it makes it hard, um, because at some point when you hit that hurdle, you don't have that commitment, right? But if it's something that I set myself, when I hit that hurdle, I can remind myself, oh, this is why you signed up for this master thing, right? So you got to go with it because you're the
Mm.
one. You say you wanted this for whatever reason, and you just have to do this, and you don't regret, because I think that's a big thing that eat up a lot of people. You don't blame yourself, right? You don't have anybody to blame but yourself. But if that's what you want, then you don't blame yourself either. And I think that's how I'm able to do a lot of things, accomplish a lot of things, and not be stressed, and not and stay pretty happy, because I live in alignment with what I want. And yeah, so that's the story. That's how I got my master. I think there were 2 of us in the class of 88 students who got a master also in the same 4 years.
Mm. Mm. The reason why I grabbed my forehead is because when you said the reason why you're having so much success is because you're in alignment with who you are. Like that is so. Oh my gosh, that is so insightful. Because a lot of people, you're right, a lot of people are literally being lost in the shuffle. They're losing their health, they're losing their relationships, they're losing their finances simply because they're not in alignment themselves. And the natural progression is depression, anxiety, loss of health, loss of even life. And so I'm so glad that you're able to unearth those things, because this is something that individuals need to hear. We have all the technology, we have all these afforded benefits, but they're literally being lost simply because they're not in alignment with themselves. And I think that's like a wonderful segue into the question and answer segment. So this question came from Christy McRee off of Facebook. She said, out of all the clients you coach, because you are a coach, right?
Yes, so I help.
Okay. I don't know. She said, what is the most common misbelief or problem you see that they have, your dental clients?
I think a common misbelief for everyone not just the dentist, not just a healthcare professional, is a lack of clarity. And I think we've been talking about that all morning. The lack of clarity is knowing who you are, right? Clarity is knowing who you are and knowing what you want and knowing your goals and knowing how to get to your goals. So just like what we just said, if I know that I want to be the best version of myself, if I know that I want to excel, if I know that I want to position myself as one of the best candidates to apply to a specialty program, then I'm going to work very hard to get to that, right? To finish the school, to do the best I could, to get involved in research, etc. So a lot of time when I'm coaching a client, so I help business owners, entrepreneurs decrease stress, increase net income, streamline their business, and win back time from work. So just, a real short description of that. A lot of the clients, they get frustrated. They have stress. And a lot of time it's because they don't have that clarity. I mean, that's the very first thing. I'll give you an example. You're stressed because your team don't like you, just for example, right? Like, okay, my staff say this about me, my hygienist, my office manager, etc. They still go to work, but I don't think I have the respect. I tell them to do certain things and they don't listen, right? Like they do it, they'll half-ass it or whatever. So the clarity here is, are you a good leader? And I don't mean that you have to be a great boss, that you buy them lunch and you give them bonus. Those just kind of come as a boss, right? But a good leader here is, did you tell them what was your vision? What was your goal? Did you tell them what their goals are? Right? So if the goal of the office, we'll just give some round number just to make it easy. Let's say if the goal of the office is to do 100,000 a month, a lot of time hygiene is going to be 25% of that, right? So does the hygienist know how to produce 25,000, right? And this is just numbers. So, and let's say if you say, well, maybe she doesn't know. Well, did you explain to her how to get to that production? Did you give her the tools and the systems on how to get to that production? For example, if she's going to do a pro fee, but at the same time, she's going to quote sell whitening or sell Invisalign, did you give her all the props and the models and the verbiage to tell the patient that these are the things that they could have, right? So this is how you're going to increase your hygiene production, because the hygienist is able to recommend treatment beyond that pro fee or beyond that SRP, right? Now, if you didn't give the hygienist those tools and you keep telling her, I need you to get to 25K, right? So now she's resentful, like, why do I have to get to 25K, right? And then she may or may not listen to you, she get upset. Now you're stressed because she's stressed. And then you take that stress home and you stress out your whole family, right? You stress out your spouse, and then you're thinking, yeah, my goal is to get 100K so I can have $1 million practice, but hygiene is not up to 25K, whatever it is, and I'm not getting my $1 million practice. And sometimes my first question to them is, why do you want $1 million practice? And they don't have the answer to that either, right? Well, I want $1 million practice because my best friend is doing $1 million. Well, that should be irrelevant, right? Why do you want the $1 million practice? So let's say if you would have asked me that, I would say, well, you know what? That's a very common benchmark that people have as far as being successful, and I think it's a good goal to have. So that's my first goal, right? Is to have $1 million practice, because I would ask, okay, instead of having $1 million practice, how about setting a goal of a net income of 300,000? Again, I'm just making up these numbers, right? So that's not the same goal. $300,000 net income is not the same goal as $1 million practice, because if it's the same goal, you're assuming that you have 70% overhead, and you should do better, than 70%.
Absolutely.
So my point again is, as I'm coaching someone, I ask questions, right? Because the job of a coach is to ask you questions and help you figure out the answer. Okay. A consultant would just give you the answer. A coach doesn't give you the answer. They'll help you get to the answer, but they're not going to just go outright and say, this is what you should do. So when I'm coaching people, I ask them those questions, and that's usually is the first part where people get stuck, is they're not even clear what they want. Um, and it has nothing to do with being driven to a certain mission, anything like that. Some people can tell you, this is my office mission, right? And they just spit out the whole thing. And then when you ask them what they're doing, the steps or whatever they're doing, it doesn't really support that mission, right? Because again, it sounds good to have a mission. So everybody have a mission. I should have a mission, or we should have a mission. And then when you look at yourself, or you look at your team, um, it's not real clear what you're doing is not in alignment with that, or it's not supporting that mission. When you're like that, you're out of alignment, and you will always feel that stress because it's not you. I'll give you a very simple example. Years ago, I took uh, I took an intro class, and then I went to the first class of Las Vegas Institute, right, which is known for teaching you cosmetic dentistry, full mouth rehab. And this was many, many, many years ago. Uh, I think they're still around, but they haven't really advertised that much. But my point is, I took the 2-day class, pay a couple of thousand for it, sat through the first day, and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, this is basic occlusion, and I don't know why I'm here. Because there wasn't much new that was being taught. And again, this is several years ago. So I sat there for most of the day, really appreciating UCLA, because the reason I knew all that stuff was I've already been taught in school. The second day is when we started using the TENS unit, and mounting models and things like that. And I told myself, this is not for me, right? This particular business model is not for me, because when a patient come in and you put them on a TENS unit, and you wait at least 25, 30 minutes to get them into a relaxed position before you can treat them, that is just not me, because I'm one of those people that it's not so much that I do volume, but I get bored very easily. So I have more fun jumping from chair to chair. And so because of that, after that first training, I got out of the program, right? Because the program, I think back then, has 7 different trainings. I didn't sign up for the whole curriculum. I was going to do, one class at a time. And to this day, I'm very happy. I've learned all the concepts about full mouth rehab and all that, and I apply the concept, but I choose not to do that particular model where your patient is the center of your attention for the morning, right? And then maybe you see another patient for the afternoon, and you charge your fees accordingly. But it wasn't me. And I have people who try to do that model, and maybe it wasn't them, right? So trying to be a boutique practice when it's not you, or trying to do a volume practice when it's not you, neither one will work for you. You got to do something that is you, because when it's for you, it's in alignment with what you want to do, and it really leverage your strength. And that's a very key component, is it leverage your strength. If I know that I function well going from chair to chair without being confused, or doing bad dentistry or whatever it is, then it's okay. I don't have to do that, boutique dentistry, and I should be okay with it. And if people were talking about, be having that kind of boutique dentistry and charging premium fees, and I used to feel bad about that. I'm thinking, oh no, I haven't worked myself up to that level, right? And then when I'm looking at it, I go, wait a minute, I'm perfectly happy. I make good income. I'm able to take my teams on different trips and training them. Why should I change? Because I'm already being my best self. So I think that's that part about clarity, because the clarity will lead to actions to support whatever your goals are. And if you have that part figured out, I think you're way ahead of the game, and you're going to be much happier.
I like it. I like it. Another question came from, let me make sure I get this right. Let's see. Hold on. This is really good. This is really good. Thank you for that question. Chrissy also has a follow-up question. She says, how do you keep your life organized without getting too involved or overwhelmed with your practice or clients or children, thus becoming unbalanced or behind in an aspect of your life and have to play catch up?
Okay. Well, it sounds like Christy should schedule a call with me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, so last year during COVID, I wrote a book. I co-wrote it with another male dentist, right? And the book is called The Modern Woman to Have It All Without Sacrifice.
Mm.
And what that means is, of course, you're going to sacrifice. You're going to sacrifice whatever you feel that you have to sacrifice. The whole idea of the chapters that I wrote, and the chapters are called, the perfect mom, the best, the ultimate boss, the exceptional entrepreneur, the wonderful wife. Like these expectations that we set for ourselves, or maybe society set for us, that we think we actually have to fulfill. And my advice as far as that goes is you don't have to fulfill other people's expectations. You fulfill your expectation. I started out saying that I wanted to be introduced as the best mom in the world, right? So guess what's most important to me? The family. So do I mind if I get behind in other stuff? No, I don't. you know, I may not have the cleanest house. I'm not gonna clean my house 3 times a week. If I have that free time, I would rather hang out with my kids. I would every Sunday morning, I do my cooking. I cook a couple of things for the week, and I get my kids involved in the cooking. Hey, you have to come help mommy. Whether you want to or not. So we have that time that we spend together. When they were younger, yes, of course, we watch TV together. We go to the movies, etc. When they were younger, I would take off 2 hours during the day. So I would work from 9 to 2, and then from 2 to 4, I would take off. I would go pick up my kids from school, and I take them to the babysitter, or sometimes they went to work with me, and then I come back to work and I work from 4 to 6. So other people would say, hey, Emily, you lost 2 hours in the middle of the day, right? And to me, it's okay, because those 2 hours I purposely and intentionally spend with my kids. Can I get somebody to go pick up my kids? Absolutely. But I didn't want to. I want me to go pick up my kids. And to this day, so my youngest is now 19 and the oldest is 25. To this day, patients would still talk about it. Yeah, I remember Jennifer coming here and helping you. Well, she wasn't helping. She would just, she was there, but they could see the kids. They would either be in the front, in the kids' room, or sometimes they'll walk the hall, but they never really, disrupt the practice. But the patients remember, and then they remember me as a mom, as a working mom, right? So they appreciate that. So if I come back from picking up my kids late, there's some people who got upset, and there's some people when the staff say, "Sorry, Dr. Letran is, she's coming back. She's going to be 10 minutes late because we're picking up her kid." And there are people who say, "That's okay. I understand." Mm-hmm. I remember one time a patient came in and we're trying to numb her, and it was maybe 1 p.m. something. I supposed to leave at 2, and the patient wasn't getting real numb. And I look at the patient and I said, "Look, we either need to be numb right now, because I gotta leave at 2, or let's just reschedule." And the patient said, I need to leave at 2 too. I have to go pick up my kids, so let's just get this done, right? And so we just jump in and did the work. But and I'm not saying that, I hurt the patient, but the point here is I communicated with the patient that I needed to be somewhere. And in this case, somewhere is to go and pick up my kids. And the patient identified with that. And so they were okay. They were okay that I was rushing, right? Now, if I was rushing at every single visit, that would be a problem, right? But I'm pretty sure that patient didn't want to schedule 1 p.m. again. but my point here is when you get real focused in what's most important to you, and it could be just at that moment, right? But you just cannot go through your whole day thinking I should be with my kids, or I should take care of this, the family, or whatever. Or when you're at home, you're thinking I should have done this in my practice. You just can't live like that. What you do, or what I do rather, is I focus on one thing at a time, right? When you know how some people are very picky with time. Well, I cannot have the patient wait 5 minutes or 2 minutes or whatever in the waiting room. I'm not like that. I come in at 9 and I need to leave at 2. So the only time that I really look at the clock is at 1 o'clock. I got an hour to get out of here. I'm gonna look at the schedule, make sure everybody gets seated on time, and make sure that I'm gonna finish so I can leave at 2. From 9 to 12, I know the schedule. We schedule patients at the beginning of every hour, right? So I know at the beginning of the hour, I would have another set of patients sitting in the chair. And as long as I see that, I know I'm okay. But I don't get very picky. I don't get stressed over that. And I think when people try to be perfect, try to run the business perfectly, try to have that perfect family, that you're always doing certain things, and you don't have the flexibility, you don't allow yourself to kind of mess up, right? Then you can get very, very stressed out. My friends from UCLA would tell me, we don't know why you're still happy. You've been a dentist for almost 30 years. Why are you still happy? And I said, because I choose to be happy, right? And I choose not to do things that I don't like to do. So many, many years ago, and it's not like I'm ever advising this, I stopped doing endo because I just don't like endo, right?
Mm.
And sometimes my staff would say, it's a number 9, like you could do this. You don't want to do molar endo, but this is a number 9, the straightforward. And I would say, no, I really said, I'm not doing endo. I'm not touching the tooth. I'm not doing open and med. I have associates, right, who can help out with that. But my point here is I made that decision and I stick with that decision. When you can prioritize your day and therefore your life and to the best of what you can do, I think you're going to be much happier because I don't think there's balance. On some days, family take over. On some days, work may take over. I'll tell you an incident. School gets out 2:30, and I remember specifically one time school called me. It's at 2 o'clock, and they said you have to come pick up your son. And I have a rule in my office. It's only an emergency if it's the babysitter or the school, right? When I first bought my practice, the staff would say, "What if your husband called?" And I said, well, which one did I tell you that you're supposed to interrupt? The babysitter or the school? Okay, he's neither one of those. So he's not an emergency. But at this time, the school called and said, you have to pick up your son. And I said, well, school's almost out. And they go, yes, but you have to pick up him now because he has a little accident, like he peed in his pants or something like that. So you have to come pick him up. So I basically drop everything, right? Is it a priority? No. But because the school calls, I'm going to drop everything. And I remember getting to the nurse's office and he was sitting on a bib, because, and I asked him what happened. And apparently he forgot to go to the bathroom because he was having too much fun at recess. So he got to class and he has this accident, peeing in his pants. It's funny because at that moment, that takes priority, if that makes any sense. And so allowing yourself to say, you know what, at this moment, at this hour, this is most important to me, rather than saying, when I'm in the office, I got to be 100%, patients come first, etc. Allowing yourself to be that flexible, as long as at the end of the day, everybody's happy, you leave on time, 6:30, whatever the time is supposed to be. You go home, you still have all the energy to be with your family. You can set the time to spend with your family, or maybe you have enough energy to cook or whatever you want to do. I think you're going to stay happy, and you're not looking for that balance. I think you should look for happiness.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. Christy said husbands are kids too. Uh, we have one more question before we get out of here, because I want to keep our time like we discussed. The question comes from Maria Carrillo. Is that right? Okay, good. Okay. The question is this, and I'm pretty sure you're going to really like this question because this individual has done a lot of research. He says, historically, the dental field has been a male-dominated field. Nonetheless, lately, the number of women integrated into dentistry has grown. What is your advice for women who want to pursue a career in dentistry, residency, and more, but face challenges such as gender bias in the workplace or other challenges? I know you wrote a book that you just referenced called The Modern Woman to Have It All with No Sacrifice. Perhaps you can share a little more about women empowerment.
Okay, well, she may or may not like my answer. um, I think you're responsible for your own destiny. Um, and I know that the field of dentistry historically is male dominant. I remember when I was graduating from dental school. So I graduated from UCLA in 1993, and I remember there was a doctor who was in pros, right? And there's a woman, and she would tell us, she would go to a conference to sign in, right? Like you get to the table and you sign in to register, and the person across the table would look up at her and say, "Hi, who's your doctor?" Right? Because they automatically assume that she is the staff member. And I think she said, "No, I'm Dr. So and so." So obviously she knows that there was a challenge with, a lot of the people in pros, or a lot of time, as far as specialty is concerned, a lot of specialists are male. And I think if we as women entering into the profession, and we don't want to be treated or to look at as, not being a specialist, right? It, to be mistaken as a staff member, etc. Then we need to take that step to go in and get into a specialty program. Does that make sense? So you have to be the one making the change. I think this year, or maybe it was last year, I can't remember. There was a school. I want to say maybe it was tough. It was somewhere, in the New York area up there, that they actually have a 50-50 enrollment of women. So the field is the field is changing. There are a lot more women. I think the women, first of all, I think dentistry is perfect for a woman for all the reasons that I just said. If I wanted to be a mom, I could take time off. I don't think you can do that as a doctor, especially if you're working in a hospital. And a lot of doctors are working in the hospital, right? Or in a group setting kind of thing. And as you know, doctors probably see patients every 5 minutes or so. With dentistry, if you're your own boss, you set your own time. You can block out 2 hours to do, half mouth dentistry, or that if you're going to be adjusting a denture, the patient might be just in and out. But so then I'm going to fit that denture adjustment into this busy schedule. And I'm totally in control of my schedule. And I think dentistry allows that. It allows a lot of flexibility. If you're a woman, I think as you go through life, because I just told you, I took time off from work and go pick up my kids. And now my youngest, actually, come Friday, I'm going to be an empty nester, right? Because he's actually going to move into UCLA as an undergrad. He was supposed to move last year, excuse me, and he didn't move because of COVID. So I told people the best thing about COVID was the kids still stuck at home because I wasn't ready to be an empty nester. So to be in the field of dentistry and have that flexibility, even though you have a lot of obligations that you want to put on yourself, whether it's as a mom or as a daughter or as a wife, um, it allows you to have all of that flexibility. The key is you need to know how important that is to you. I think a lot of women may not go into specialty school in general is because we do want to raise that family, right? If you want to go to oral surgery, that's another 4 years beyond dental school. And let's just be real honest, a lot of us get tired after 4 years of dental school. And you're just like, I want to get out already, right? Because it's a lot of work. It's going to school 8 to 5 and then do lab work or studying after that. And then if you think about another 4 years, it's a lot of commitment. That is why you have to be very clear. Why is it that you want to be specializing, right? And I think there's a big percentage of people who might want to specialize because they think they make more money. For me, the way I see it, being specialized is good and bad because because when you're specialized, you're not just dealing with the patients as your customers, right? You also dealing with the GP. And I mean, let's face it, I'm kind of sometimes a pain in the butt GP, right? If I refer a patient to you, I want it a particular way. If I refer one tooth extraction, do not call me back and ask me, can you take out the other two? Like I could be very picky. So now you're trying to deal with two different groups of people who refer to you. And it takes certain personality. And if you don't have that personality, you better make sure that you have the staff that have that personality, right? Instead of you having that personality. So in anything you choose, whether you choose to be a general dentist or you choose to be a specialist, you set your own expectation and you want to be that best person. So I think when the female doctor want to specialize, they have to be very clear. They need to say, you know what, I'm going to give it another 4 years. I'm going to give it another 2 years. So if I have to put my family plan on hold, I need to be okay with that, right? There are people who get married and have kids in dental school. The majority of the time, I don't think it was planned. So it's like added stress, right? Uh, Most of them don't regret, right? Having a child in dental school, but I have personal friend who have to take the year off because it was so much stress. Then she came back and graduated a year later. So all of these things, I believe, are things that we have a choice, um, a decision that we make, and going back to having clarity and knowing ourselves. You're the boss of your life, the CEO of your life. You make that choice. And if you choose that, then be okay to live with it. Um, be okay to make whatever sacrifice. Be okay. If you're going to choose a specialty that only 2% are women, or maybe 10% are women, well, then be up for that challenge. And if you want that to change, I tell you how to change that. Make sure you position yourself as that, you know, boss, right? If you're going to be that specialist, you can stand out by writing articles. You can stand out by holding seminars. You can stand out so that another friend, another male counterpart, when they look you up, they can see that you do a bunch of stuff to position yourself as that expert. And you're not just a woman who is a pros, who is an oral surgeon, who specialize in a male dominant field. So I think we can choose to make that difference. And if we're going to enter that particular segment, knowing that there's more competition and there's certain biases or stereotypes, I think you should be up for that challenge. If that makes any sense. It's like don't have a baby if you know that you're stuck with that baby for 18 years. Like if you're not ready to be a parent, then it's maybe better not to be a parent, right? But if you choose to be a parent or by accident or whatever, then you got to give that kid 100% because you're the parent.
That was I know I didn't ask that question, but I could feel the energy off this of the wavelengths now, acknowledging the fact that there's a lot of decisions to be made. We're coming to a close. Dr. Letran, get yourself ready because I'm going to be passing it back to you to let people know how they could contact you. I know there's a program that you want to share with us, and just for all the diversity in dentistry individuals who are watching, there's a special discount that we have. We're not going to discuss it, but I want you to be aware that that's going to be coming. She's going to be presenting that shortly. But just as a recap, a couple of things that I was taking notes on. Personal, and number one is this personal development. That's something that Dr. Letran highlighted. It seems like without personal development, you're finished. Then serving the community, she talked about that. And I would say, individuals so frequently talk about serving the community from a position from the outside, but she's serving her community, which is her family. And that is something that is often disregarded. So that service of community, by service of community, you end up servicing her family. She's able to service her community at large. Then she talked about clarity. That was one of the questions that Christy had. And then communication, which is so important, to be able to go back and forth with her patients, and then being able to be empowered as a woman, knowing that if you're going to go down that path, that, just as long as you have that clarity, then you're going to be able to make the decisions that may be challenging, but it'll be beneficial, but not just for you, but all those. So Dr. Letran, I just want to say thank you for joining us. But if you could give us some parting words, like I said, tell us how we could find you, tell us a little bit about your coaching program and how individuals could reach out to you. And then if you could give us that insight, that would be great.
Oh, yeah, thank you. And again, thank you so much for inviting me on and be able to share my story and some of my insights on this platform. Obviously, thank you to Dr. Haishaw for creating this platform and for inviting us all to grow. I just want to add a little bit on two things when you just mentioned in your recap. One, on serving the community. Some doctors wait for the opportunity to go on a mission, right? I want to go on a mission, but I need to make the time, etc. I say, start it in your own office. You want to do some free dentistry? Pick a patient, give free dentistry. We actually do one free day of dentistry a year in each of our practice, and we just open the doors to people who come in. We do a free cleaning, filling, or an extraction, and so I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to go on any mission. I don't need to wait for a schedule. I schedule my own, day to give back to the community. Or maybe I volunteer to do screenings like what we mentioned before. So start with what you have where you are. Don't wait for it to become the perfect time for you to do certain things. And so that's that part about community. And it starts with the family, but if you want to just help the community, there are ways to do that. The other part you talk about is to be ready for the challenge. And remember that you don't have to do it yourself, right? Just like this group. You try to apply to dental school, or maybe you're in dental school, you're going through some challenges, or maybe you're out and you're starting your work and you think that you have to figure it out yourself. Yes, you can go read a book. You can Google just about anything, and there's going to be an answer that come up. But find a support, find a mentor, a coach, find a group like this where you can ask questions, because if you think you have to do it all yourself, you're wrong. Anybody who leads a team or who runs successful business will tell you it's not them. It's the people who they surround themselves with. So keep that in mind, because you don't have to do it all by yourself. And I think for all of us, what I want to appeal to everybody is the sense of commitment to live life being your best self. I tell my kids, if you could get a B in class, I expect you to get a B, not a C, right? I didn't expect you to get an A because everybody think I'm a tiger mom, right? Which I'm not. But if you could get a B, then do not get a C, get a B. If you could get an A, obviously I want you to get an A and don't just kick back and get a B, right? So instill that value in your kids, in the people that you can influence, whether it's your staff or the community or your children, and have that value in yourself. Know that you give yourself the best chance to do the best thing every day. So today, let's say Monday, you come in and maybe you're only at 70%. And when you're a high performer, it's very good. It's very easy to just kind of fake it, right? And go through the motion. But if you knew that you only work on Monday giving 70%, on Tuesday, try to bring 80, 90%, right? So pushing yourself to be the best version of yourself. And so my passion is to fill that gap in dentistry. Um, we know what to do. We know all the resources, but how come we're not doing it? That gap is personal development, understanding yourself and getting yourself to get to that level. So I share with Dr. Williams a couple of things. The very first thing is, if you're a dentist, I would love to invite you to my event. It's coming up October 9th in Las Vegas. And it's a full day of leadership and personal development and marketing. Dr. Haishaw is actually one of the speakers at this event. You can go to actiontowin.com and register. There's actually a special fee for this weekend, so take a look at that. It's a very special reduced fee. It's really to help buy you lunch. That's that's basically what that fee is for. So go to actiontowin.com. The second one is the two programs that I want to let you know. One is my coaching program. So I help you develop yourself and grow your business. So the first coaching program is a group coaching, so it's a small group where we meet virtually on the phone, on Zoom. And the first call is 90 minutes. And we divided half and half. Half is on high performance, which is personal development, and the other half is on business marketing. And then you also have a webinar, 45 minutes, where I teach a particular topic. The difference between the two is the coaching call is very interactive. And on the webinar, obviously, I'm presenting a lot of information. And then you're in a Facebook group where you can ask questions anytime to me and to the experts in the group. So we have a very special discount for the group. What you can do is you can just email me directly, Coach Emily Letran at gmail.com. So CoachEmilYLetran at gmail.com. If you email me and put DID as the headline, and whatever your concern is, I would send you back, a link so you can see what the program is and what the special discount is. And the third one, which I think is very, very special, a program that is very unique, and it is a 2-year program that we have just created with the Global Summits Institute, and is teaching our healthcare professionals how to run better business. It has 3 tracks. One is finance, so we can address your student loan, restructuring your personal finance, all the way to investing in real estate, right? All about finance. And then there's the second track, which is business. And the business has to do with business systems, marketing, personal growth, like a little bit of what I shared today. And the third one is research. As I mentioned before, I'm not a fan of research. So this program is run by a couple of PhDs who will help you come up with a thesis, do the research, and present your thesis. I happen to be the dean of the program. And what I would love to do is be able to offer scholarship where you can have a significant discount for the 2 years program. I think it's the best investment that you can have beyond your dental school. because once you finish dental school, you get the basic clinical training. You probably have no business training or very little business training. And this is that next step to help you compress time and learn fast and be more successful. So email me at coachemilyletran@gmail.com and put the headline DID and ask me questions about the programs. I would love to give you insights into that. And I would love to see you guys at the upcoming event. It's in Las Vegas. It's at the Luxor. And then you're going to be blown away by all the women speakers who are presenting at the event.
Well, thank you, Dr. Letran. Well, guys, ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to our conclusion of our accountability call on September 12th, 2021. We just want you to remember that if we can diversify dentistry, so can you. Once again, make it a great one. And thank you again, Dr. Emily Letran. It was a pleasure interviewing you.
Thank you so much. And everybody go have a great day. Best wishes. And may the floss be with you.
Bye.